All right, good afternoon, everybody. For all the CZ rimfire fans out there, this is Kendall with S.E.K Outdoors. I want to talk to you about the latest and greatest from CZ rimfire products. So we've got a brand new 457. We're going to compare that to a 455, which it's replacing now, a discontinued model, and then the 455's replacement, the 452. So kind of what got CZ into the ball game and made them popular for everybody was this 452 model. And you can see we've got them laid out here. Everybody's unloaded. We got the bolts out, the mags out to let you just kind of walk and compare, see what the new gun's going to look like. I have shot this a little bit. This is a 17 HMR. Both these are just 22 long rifles. So this original 452 lights out like most 452s do. Part of the reason that is and what they're most popular is this two-lug bolt design. That has changed since the 455 and the 457. This has a locking lug down here, also with the lug up top as you close the bolt. One of the things that aided in their accuracy. When they went to the 455, you weren't able to change barrels as easily with the 452s. These have two screws up in the front of the bolt. It's a pinned lug. You just pop that barrel off. They carried that over in the upgrade to this 457. So you'll notice that they took some of the features that have been working for them all along and just kind of upgraded them. I want to talk to you about what probably is the biggest and most significant difference to the American shooter and the CZ. It's the position of the safety. So the 452s, the 455, both had a safety position on the bolt, back to fire, forward for safe. And this is somewhat backwards of what most American guns are, and that was one of the chief complaints of a lot of rimfire shooters that were fans of these guns' accuracy, but their functionality wasn't working for the American style shooter. So a Ruger or Remington, that push to fire safety. Well, they've listened and they've upgraded, and now you have a push to fire safety on this new 457. So safe position, back position, works pretty smooth. You'll see from a stock configuration, if you notice as I lift that gun up, that is a dark color. It's called Turkish walnut in the stock. This particular gun came out with relatively good wood, so it does have a nice color. I'm pretty pleased with that. Some other upgrades as time has went on. We've talked about the lug position on the bolt. They have got a little cheaper on the mags. The original mags were metal all the way around. Well, with the release of the 455, we went to a polymer or plastic mag, and that changed over. And that's going to be the same with these new rifles, these 457s. Back again, plastic, but they are interchangeable. I'm finding this old mag fits the old gun, or new mag fits the old gun, and vice versa. What you also find on the new gun, as CZ listened, is the barrel action and trigger mechanism, trigger guard is all coated, so a little bit of rust prevention there, going to be easier to keep clean, and it'll be a good woods gun. I will tell you the 452, this gun is very impressive in how it handles, how it shoots. By comparison, I had a 455. This gun actually belongs to a friend. Again, smooth, very accurate, out of the box, traditional CZ. I've only had an opportunity to shoot this 457. Granted, it's a 17 versus these 22, so that's not a ballistic comparison at all, but an out-of-the-box accuracy. It's showing a lot of promise from the first 150 shots. If we talk about the functionality and one of the changes, if I flip this gun over, the new 457 has a bolt release on the side of the action, similar to what a Winchester's using, similar to what the Tika action's using, and that's going to be pretty handy moving forward. They have shortened this action substantially. They, according to CZ and some information I read from them in a video release, the idea was weight reduction. So this action is shorter. It is slotted versus the 55 and the 52s. So it's going back to more like a Savage look, maybe an insole slotted action, but it's a lot heavier than a Savage. I got a Savage Mark II and there's no comparison. Smoothness out of the box, I probably rated about a 7. Took a good load of flits and used that as a mechanism to help slide that bolt and make feeding a little easier. I have not had any feeding issues. Every time I shot, I filled the mag up, 5 rounds in and out, no problem. Not the first feeding issue. So whatever they're doing from an engineering standpoint, that appears to be working very, very well in ejection. So another change over when you move over to this 457. By comparison, trigger guards, metal, metal, metal. One piece, two-piece. That's a big change. When you pull this gun apart, which we're going to do here in just a minute to show you because it has an adjustable trigger, whereas you either had to buy a trigger kit or cut a few coils out of the springs on these 452s to get that nice light trigger that everyone was after. This gun has a creep adjustment, poundage adjustment. It's got a window so you can see the sear to know where you're at. I have adjusted this down a little bit. There's a little more room to go, but we're going to show you that coming up in another video. Barrel length, that's always kind of common. This 455, just the sporter barrel, is around 20, if I remember right, 22. Yeah, about 22. This old guy here, about 25, and then we're about 25 on this. I believe the original Luxes were about 28. So in this particular model, since there were some variations, is a 452 2E. Price-wise, originally when CZ first brought these out, you could buy these for around 200 bucks plus tax, these 452s. What a great value. Of course, now a used one, upwards sometimes if you find one new in a box, 600-700 bucks. So if you got one of these, it's worth a lot more money than initially on the release. These 455s, when they were popular and available, could be had in the mid 300 range, depending on what profile you have. They have bull barrel, sporter barrel, stock configuration. But just a 455 sporter profile like this was in the mid 3s. This gun was about 430 plus tax, no transfer, 430 plus tax. Stay tuned, we're going to tear this gun apart here, pull it out of the stock, show you the bottom of the action, and then we'll show you how to make a trigger adjustment. We're going to tear this gun apart real quick, and then I'll show you what you need to do to adjust the trigger. One thing we didn't mention earlier that I think is worth noting is you can cycle the bolt with the safety on. So the safety's in the on position here, that will still allow you to cycle the bolt. It did catch me a few times in the on position. You can make sure this gun's clear, which it is. You can pull this trigger in the safety on position and you will get trigger movement. And that kind of caught me off guard. I was pulling on it one time and it wasn't going off. I'm like, okay, you know the safety, and obviously you slip it forward. I've got this trigger probably at about 3 pounds. I think it can go a little better. And we'll show you how to make those adjustments here coming up. So we're going to tear this guy apart. Probably just speed the video up as we do it. And then it'll give you an opportunity to also see the two-piece bottom metal. One of the nice things I told you earlier about this is you can switch barrels out with the 455, and according to CZ's website, a barrel kit should cost somewhere around 130 bucks. So this is a 17 mag, so you can switch it over and run a 22 Winchester Magnum rimfire out of it. Just buy another barrel kit, 130 bucks, and switch over. So what I mean by two-piece, when we pull this bottom metal off, it's a little sticky because you have to slide the mag release forward to get that relief, and it will come apart in two pieces. There's piece 1, and then obviously piece 2. And then this gun's just going to lift up out of the stock. You can see this is a lugged action that's got a slotted lug in the back of the action, and then there is also a lug right here, I guess similar to what you would call a recoil lug in a center fire, that's at the tang, near the tang side of the action. This is not bedded, it is straight factory, so if you pull one apart, this is what you're going to see. Looks like there's going to be a good opportunity to open this barrel channel up, open this action up. If you want to bed it, there's a pretty good opportunity right in here to get some good bedding up on that action. So what you can see from a component standpoint, if you look close, this might be a little bit hard to see, but these two screws right here will allow a release of this barrel. Just slide on your new barrel, tighten that down, make sure you have good headspace, and then you're good to go with the new barrel. So what we're talking about earlier with adjustment on the trigger, I don't have the tools in front of me at the moment to adjust the trigger, but I'll show you what's two places that you want to look for. And it's marked on this in red. So you have a screw here, and you also have a screw right up here on the top part of the trigger. And if you look really closely, I don't know if you can see it right where my finger is, that is the access window to the sear engagement. So with the bolt in, and without zooming this camera all the way in, you'll be able to actually see your sear engagement right here. And that's where you can begin to adjust, if you want to adjust out of the stock, what kind of over travel you're going to get. You'll notice with the bolt closed, there is a red indicator on the rear of the bolt that lets you know it's in a fire ready position. And if you pull the trigger in this case and on unload the cartridge, nothing happened in the safety mode. Safety forward, you'll see that release, and that indicates that that round is no longer what's decocked, basically. Magazine well, it's plastic. What is it nowadays in some of these guns? That's how they make them, so they're inexpensive. But so the two trigger adjustments, you got a little Allen key here and one on the base of the trigger, and as you make those adjustments, you'll see that sear move back and forth. One adjustment's for over travel, under travel, and the other is just basically for sear engagement. The things we want to talk about up close is the trigger. And I told you a little bit about some adjustments. One of the adjustment screws is right here, indicator where this little red dot is. I'm not sure they'll all have the red dot, but that's something to draw your attention. So you have a relief screw right here, screw it in or out for loosening, lighter poundage, in for tightening the trigger. On the bottom side of the trigger, if you look real close, a much smaller screw. Again, another engagement opportunity for you to stop over travel or stuff and such. And if you turn over and look really close right here, you can see the window where the sear is. It might be difficult with the camera position and the lighting, but if you see where that is, I will try to cock this and keep that on camera, and you'll see those sears lock up. As I lift this bolt, and you're camming up, and close it back down, you should see those two sears engage right there. As you make adjustments to your over travel screw and also your poundage screw, you'll see those sears actually begin to separate. And I took it down so low the other day that there wasn't engaging at all. So it will let you adjust it past the point of engagement. So when you pull this trigger, you'll see those disengage. That's releasing the firing pin. Go ahead and pop that round off. But as you see them lock up and engage there, the distance that those are in contact will be the amount of poundage on your trigger or your gun. So the more contact they have, the harder the pull weight. The less contact they have, the less pull weight. What you want to be very careful of when adjusting these triggers is if you get that down where those sears are just barely engaging, you can possibly slam that bolt shut and cause a round to go off. So when you're adjusting, adjust it, unload it, and then work that bolt back and forth aggressively many times to make sure you're not going to get a fire because of a bad sear engagement. So we're going to throw this rifle back together, and one thing I found out that took me a minute the smoothness of getting the trigger guard and the bottom metal engaged in one is drop your trigger guard in first, and then take the slotted edge of your bottom metal and just kind of lift that up out of there, sliding it in place, and then you'll see that I just moved that forward just enough to get that mag release to allow that to go in place. So the trick was you had to engage the mag release to slide it into place, and I found that if you put the trigger guard in first and just lift it up out of the way, this bottom metal will slide right into it and makes it a much nicer or cleaner operation as far as getting it put back together. A little bit of a close-up comparison between the new bolt here and the old 452 bolt here. So this is the older version, one of the originals, and this is what the new bolts look like. Slotted action, obviously you have a slot for your bolt shroud to slide in and out of the action, whereas the older actions didn't. One of the biggest differences, and I wish they could do this, is make a two-lug system. They haven't been able to do that, but this is probably what contributes to most of the accuracy of the 452 is this double lug design. So you have a lug on the bottom side of the bolt, and as that bolt engages, closes over, the action locks up right here as well. You have 2 points of contact, which helps keep that bolt square, and the better you can keep things in line and square with the center of the bore, concentric with the bore, the better your accuracy. This obviously just has the single locking position here. From a manufacturing standpoint, if they're able to get everything in line from the factory, you don't lose out on accuracy. You can get by with a little more here because you're gaining that second lug to help keep pressure on that case. I'm going to try to show you if I can do it with two hands here, the cycling difference. First we'll cycle this 455 here. You notice it doesn't have that 60-degree bolt throw. It's up. You got a potential to get stuff in the way or get a glove caught between your scope and the bolt. Obviously on this 457 you don't. You've got a lot of clearance there. So, but the distance of pull when you cycle that bolt is up and back. It's quite a bit more. I'm sorry about the angle on my hands here, but you'll notice that pulls a lot more. This is a short throw, And that's very handy for quick cycling. And that's just all part of why they shorten this action. And one of the reasons, according to CZ, that they had to go to a slotted action in order to conserve on weight, that certainly changed the overall length of your cycling and bolt working between models. You can see I got a lot more action just in my thumb there opposed to here. It's just a slide back and forth and much easier out of the way overall. A lot more movement. Just want to take an opportunity to say thanks for watching the video. I hope you can subscribe to our channel, S.E.K. Outdoors. We're not just rimfire guys. We enjoy hunting. We like to turkey hunt, coyote hunt, deer hunt, squirrel hunt. So there's lots of videos. There's great deer videos from this season, some long range shooting. We don't claim to be experts. We hope that you took something positive from this video and that you can learn from it. Like us, share our page, sign folks up. We'll try to get some more videos out. Turkey season is just around the corner for us here in Indiana, and we're anxious to get out in the woods and put a thunder chicken on the ground.